Will special counsel Jack Smith make the report to Merrick Garland regarding the cases where he was the special counsel? Washington, D.C. case for Trump's attempt to overthrow the results of the 2020 election, which was alleged in the complaint there, and the allegations against Donald Trump in the Mar-a-Lago indictment for taking, among other things, potentially nuclear secrets and other highly classified information. It would normally be the practice in a special counsel investigation for reports to be prepared and to be made public and submitted to the Attorney General, in this case, Merrick Garland, and then made available to the public. I mean, short of certain classified redactions that would have to be made. And so the question here is, in this unique circumstance, do we expect this to be made public? So at the very least, we the people know what happened and we have insight into this, and that our institutions, which once valued transparency in these types of things, could at least have some learning lessons from this. And sunlight is always, or was always, the best disinfectant. So let me bring in Harry Litman. Harry Litman, of course, is the host of the Talking Feds YouTube channel and the Talking Feds podcast. I think it's going to be more important than ever over the course of the coming weeks, months, and unfortunately years, as there's going to be attempts to wither away our legal system, if not destroy our legal system. And you are all going to want to have the insight of somebody like a Harry Litman, who was a United States attorney in Pennsylvania, who has leadership positions in the Department of Justice before, who can walk us through what is happening. Knowledge is power. So with that, Harry, let's first just talk about the public disclosure issue. What are the considerations? What do we expect is going to happen? Argument, counter argument that's probably going to be made if a disclosure is requested.
Okay. Thanks, Ben. And yes, days, weeks, years. Let's start though on this issue of disclosure. Now, Merrick Garland has said if he gets a report from Jack Smith, he will make it public. So that would seem to, and it's his discretion to do it. There are some instances where he must disclose things to Congress. For example, if he countermands Smith on an important point, that wouldn't be what happens here. Now, it is a little bit tricky. In the regs, the notion of a report is to explain your ultimate decision to prosecute or decline. And that's not what we have here, right? They've already decided to prosecute and they've gone forward with the indictment. And you will have Trump absolutely screaming to the heavens that he's a president-elect and presidents can't be prosecuted. But it's as you say, with Mar-a-Lago in particular, we have a really pretty good idea of the record of evidence that Jack Smith has assembled for the January 6th case. It's not just the January 6th committee, but his long brief on immunity to Judge Chutkan, 180 some pages laying it out. We don't know very much about Mar-a-Lago at all, and it is critical that we do, because here is a man who's about to again have unfettered plenary control of every piece of paper in the federal government, in the executive branch. And if he has not only absconded with records before, but if Smith has evidence that he's shown them here and there and been very sort of derelict, that's something that we need to know. And literally, without Smith doing some kind of report, I think it's going to be buried to history, like the last scene in is it Raiders of the Lost Ark, where it's just way in the back. We will never know. And that, I think, there's a paramount concern or interest in just knowing what the hell happened when a president took all this stuff and sensitive stuff and showed it around and the like. So Jack Smith, by all accounts, is starting to wind things down. He knows that there's no sense trying to push ahead, with the possible exception, we can talk about this if you like, of getting through the 11th Circuit appeal. But basically, come January 20th, Trump has said he'll fire him within 2 seconds. And Smith is going to want to kind of line things up methodically, not chaotically, et cetera. And a report takes a while. But that, to me, is the biggest hole in the historical record. Recall when Robert Hur decided not to charge Biden, big report, and it was sent to Congress. Bob Mueller did the same thing, and Smith, in effect, did it with his with the evidence he'd assembled in the January 6th case and here. But we are never going to see it, and Trump will move now, I think, even to keep him from doing it. So I think it'd be very much in the public good and certainly consistent with the regs, as you say. You know, you're always a little squeamish as a DOJ person to be broadcasting information on a defendant you're not going to indict. But Robert Hur did it to Biden, and here there are really paramount reasons to do it. So to me, I think in his remaining time, the country would be well served if Jack Smith writes up what he has about Mar-a-Lago, gives it to Merrick Garland, and Merrick Garland, as he's indicated he would, makes it public so we can have what otherwise will just be a vacuum in the historical record. What the hell happened, and how and to what extent did Trump abuse privileges that he really didn't even have at that point, being after his presidency, with classified, sensitive national defense documents.
You know, the interesting thing about that, Harry, though, is the MAGA Republicans today in the House, Jim Jordan, who chairs the Judiciary Committee, Barry Loudermilk, and others are saying things like this. Special Counsel Jack Smith is not immune from transparency or above accountability for his actions in prosecuting Donald Trump, and I will leave no stone unturned to hold him accountable and the former January 6th Select Committee accountable. Jim Jordan says Jack Smith should preserve all of his records. So the irony here is that they're approaching it from the angle of, we want transparency, but for the MAGA Republicans and Trump, don't release your actual report and your findings, but we want to go after you in the interest of transparency, but kind of cherry pick the documents and that come out basically.
Right. No, we want Jack Smith's scalp on a platter. One of the AG candidates said, Jack Smith, time to lawyer up. They want to make his life miserable and expensive. And that's going to be a whole nother. I have an article in today's LA Times that we're taping Friday about this prospective reign of terror. And Smith is one of the chief targets. And, you know, Trump, a lot of stuff he talks about in campaign, we think he doesn't really care about. But revenge and reprisal on his enemies, that gets him up in the morning. So there's a real worry there, and the whole kind of literal sort of reign of terror. And you make a really good point, because it's not going to just be Trump. And now let's say the Senate stays as it's trending and Trump can have whoever he wants and the AG's chair and the other senior officials who will just do his bidding. But there is also Jim Jordan, you know, the ultimate hypocrites in Congress, who, when they were, on the hot seat, said, just basically were contemptuous, but now are going to try. They still don't have any ideas, right? So they're going to try to really make some people's lives miserable. And I think Jack Smith is probably very close to target number one.
Well, we'll see if the report gets released.
Yeah.
If the American people will learn. It's just important that I think our audience know that it is definitely still on the table that the report gets released, and we will. It's
written first. You know, I think he decides whether to write a report first.
We will keep everybody posted each step of the way. Everybody, seriously though, now is the time where a channel like Talking Feds, and specifically the Feds part of it, leading with Feds Talking, we're going to be hearing a lot about civil liberties being placed in jeopardy. Forget the norms being challenged. We're talking about potentially the wholesale destruction of our legal system, which on the one hand we can hope, but hope by itself is empty. So we have to learn what we can do. And when you subscribe to the Talking Feds YouTube channel, you won't just hear the descriptive, you'll hear the prescriptive. And when Harry comes on here, that's what we're going to share with you as well. So make sure you subscribe there, Harry. We're doing a bunch of other videos today and over the weekend. So we'll be seeing a lot more of Harry, and it's so critical. Thanks, Harry.
Thanks, Ben.
Again, everybody subscribe. It's called the Talking Feds YouTube channel.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram at MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.